Okay, so here, episode number 8. Really excited to bring to you Rabbi Dudi Winkler, who's the director of Lev L'Chayal, and I'm sure he does a lot of other things. Lives locally here in Ramat Beit Shemesh in the Ramat Shiloh area, and he's done a lot of incredible things. I've seen him on a personal level help a lot of guys. I used to live closer to the area, so I've seen him, work with the guys, and as they progress through their yeshiva and has their years, he's been very helpful. So I get Dudi, Rav Dudi, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. If you could, you know, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, just a minute of where exactly you're from and how you got to where you are today.
So thank you, Danny, first of all, for inviting me to share the story of Lev L'Chayal and the world of lone soldiers in general. A little bit of myself. I was born here in Israel, grew up in Israel. My parents are Holocaust survivors. My father was a Holocaust survivor. My mother is a Holocaust refugee, the youngest of four. And I went to the school system here in Israel. I'm not American. They didn't speak English in my house. And
English is fantastic. Yeah, I would never know. I thought that you made Aliyah at one
yeah,
point.
I always had a dream. My brother, Allah Shalom, made Yerida when I was 4 years old. My parents did shlichut before I was born, and they
Okay.
did shlichut in South Africa and Brazil. And my siblings graduated high school in Chutz La'aretz. So I was always jealous of them. And my brother met a girl in South Africa, and their family moved to America. And my first time in America, I was 5 years old, wearing a tuxedo at a wedding. And my whole life, I had a dream that I'm going to become an American one day. So, and I asked my parents, like, teach me English. I want to be American. That was my dream, to become an
Hysterical.
American. And
Okay.
so I went to school here in Israel. I grew up north in Kiryat Yam by the beach. I
Hmm.
went to Yeshiva High School in Neve Shmuel in Efrat, Rabbi Riskin's Otorah Yeshiva High School back in the days. And then I went to Mechina. I thought I'm going to go to the army for many, many years in Eli. And then I went to Yeshiva Gvoha in Dimona, which is now Mitzpe Ramon. Ended up getting married, going to the army after, was a combat medic. After the army went to the Mevaseret Kollel, the Meretz Kollel, got my smicha there. And there, I decided that instead of going to America, I'm gonna work with the Americans that come here to learn for their gap year for the yeshiva in Israel. And I was tutoring the guys and teaching night seder and giving chavrutas and translating Rav Kook Torah into English a little bit together with the guys.
Wow.
And that's where I made a decision that I should focus in my life in giving over the Torah of Eretz Yisrael and the love and passion of and to Eretz Yisrael to those students coming from overseas. And that's where it started over 25 years ago. I was teaching in Mevaseret for a couple of years. Then I was invited by Yeshivat Leva Torah to join the team here. They're on their third year at Leva Torah. That was 18 years ago. And since then, I've been here. I took a break of 3 years. I was a Rosh Kollel on Shlichut in Melbourne, Australia. I want to see how it is to live overseas and to see the guys who are going to Israel, coming to Israel from overseas, and then coming back, returning to their communities to learn a little bit about that. And when I returned 10 years ago, I started the program of Lev L'Chayal at the yeshiva, and that's a new era and the new part of my life since I came back from Shlichut 10 years ago.
All right, we'll definitely get into that. First of all, your love and your passion of Eretz Yisrael is abundant and obvious, and just seeing you in the yeshiva, and how you interact with the guys. You could think of something that was challenging for your parents, as Olim, something that they went through that they were able to overcome that type of challenge. That's really some purpose of this vlog, is to give over challenges that people have gone through and have persevered through the challenges and how they did it.
So my parents' story is completely different of what we have nowadays. As I mentioned before, my father was a Holocaust survivor, and my mother a Holocaust refugee from Germany. And my mother went from Germany to Uruguay to Argentina and then moved to Israel in 1950. Same
Wow.
with my father. My father went back to Topolchan. He's sitting in Czechoslovakia after the war, after being in a labor camp with his parents and running in the forest and hiding in the forest and returning back to his hometown Topolchan in Czechoslovakia. And he had a choice. His parents had a choice whether to go to America because they had family in America, got visa to America. My father's one of his famous stories that they had a visa to go to Israel, and he was influenced by the Zionist movement in Israel. He was an only child, and he told his parents, "It's either America or your son." And he decided that they're going to come to Israel. And when he
That's
came to
awesome.
Israel, he came to Israel after years of Holocaust with no high school education. He had to go to the kibbutz where he lived in Kibbutz Yavne, learn by himself, did night learning. He got his bachelor degree at a night school, actually, in university in Israel in the early 50s. And he got a bachelor degree in kalkala, in economics, and in chinuch, and he was the principal of a high school for 28 years of his life. So that's my parents. He had a lot of challenges of making Aliyah back in the days with the Israelis that were here during the time of the Holocaust, and their view on those who were in Europe at the time. It's a little bit of a political sensitive situation of what he was dealing with at the time. This is not what we deal with nowadays. Nowadays, we live in Ramat Shilo and Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's a whole different experience of how the people of Israel view Aliyah and embrace the Olim and want to give them as many rights as possible and as much credit as possible. So it's a whole different world.
Okay, amazing. Let's jump into the Lev L'Chayal portion. First of all, why Lev L'Chayal? What's with the name? Tell us about a little bit what it means, and tell us, I guess, about the day-to-day of what a Lev L'Chayal student or soldier is doing.
Okay, so first of all, Lev L'Chayal is part of Yeshivat Lev HaTorah, obviously. So that's where the Lev comes, and the Chayal is because it's from the depth of our hearts to the Chayalim. For many years, there have been few students every year at the yeshiva that decided to go to the army as lone soldiers, and the guys who went to the army came back to the yeshiva and said, "Listen, a lot of the yeshiva guys come to Israel for a year and then they go back home, and we try to support the alumni and be in touch with them and go visit them on campuses and keep in touch and be part of this simcha. But what about those alumni that decide to come to Israel and do it? So why the yeshiva needs to be a home, a base away from base, and from base to base, a place for the guys who decide to go to the army." So I was coming back from Australia, and there's a bunch of students. One of them is actually teaching. He's part of the team of Lev HaTorah now, and he's a morning set Rebbe in the yeshiva this year. He was in the army as a lone soldier, and he said, "Listen, there's a lot of problems as a lone soldier. First of all, where do you live, and how do you cope with all the expenses and bills that you have to pay, and take care of your meals, and what do you do when you come back home from base? But also preparation for the army, language-wise, cultural-wise, errands that you need to take care of. And what about all the bureaucracy and dealing with commanders and officers and rights of lone soldiers?" Back in 10 years ago, we started doing a lot of homework and put together a list of all the challenges. You need to really establish a home for these guys that they will feel that they have the support, the house, the home, the family, the mentors, the Abba, the Ima that will take care and hold their hands through. So that's the reason why we started. On a day-to-day basic, there's basically two parts of it. There's the part of the pre-army, where the guys come to yeshiva and they take ulpan classes at night, and I go over all their paperwork and the requirements that the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Interior Affairs requires them, whether it's the proof of Judaism and the apostille documents of birth certificate and FBI background check. In different countries, it's a different police check that they need to provide. And the apostille documentation and the health documents and declarations, and to prove that they're not only children, and to get lawyer's signature and notary stuff, all the bureaucracy that they need to deal with, and also dealing with offices in Israel as in every country. I've experienced this when I went to Australia for 3 years. So there's a lot of bureaucracy when you move from one place to the other. So you need somebody who's local, who has the connections and knows the offices and knows the bureaucracy and the paperwork and know how to get things done. So that's one thing another thing that we do. A lot of relationship with the guys to understand where they're coming from. Is there any emotional need, support? Is there something that bothers them? Is it really the right thing for them to do? And then we build them together in teams and groups who they're friends with, and they're going to go together with their friends into the army. We became a Hesed Yeshiva a couple of years ago. This way we can get the guys together as groups. And I, as the director of the program, I'm in touch with their officers and commanders, I get allowance to come to base every now and then and give a shiur and meet with the guys, take part of their ceremonies. Also, be the middleman between them and between the chayalim, the soldiers, and their parents. The parents are far away, thousands of miles away. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what ceremony is. When are the ceremonies? When is it going to take place? When do they have to take time off from work and plan their tickets to come and visit their kids? Do they have the money to come and visit their kids? Some of them don't have the ability to come, and then maybe find some donors that they will be able to cover and help the parents to come and take part of their kids' success and experience, and be proud of them. So this is basically a whole world. And now there's also, when the guys are going to the army, as of now we have 5 homes, 5 houses in the community, which house they house around 60 lone soldiers at the moment. And there's a whole infrastructure of how to make sure that these guys will have not just a house, rather a home. It's not just a building, not just the walls, not just the electricity and the air conditioning and the fridge and the beds and the and all the physical components, but also to have pairs of av and em bites that will ask them every week how they're doing and invite them over for Shabbat meals and set them up with families in the communities and run a kiddush for the chayalim and melave malka for the chayalim and make it exclusive and make it special for them, that they will feel that there's something. They're not just yeshiva boys. They're guys who decided to give way and beyond to Am Yisrael, so they deserve to get back, and we want to give them that feeling. So it's the army-based visits and the weekends and the hospitality and the av and bayit system that we have, and take care of all their errands and do shopping for them weekly. That when they come back home from the base, sometimes they come back home every Shabbat or every other Shabbat or after 2 Shabbatot or 3 Shabbatot, there's always things going on, flying on WhatsApp of shopping lists to do for them that they will not, we Israelis, my sons, when they came back from the army, they have Abba and Ima. We take care of their foods and laundry. But these guys don't have that Abba and Ima and people making their foods. So we put together a program that will kind of try to replace or take that place, that needy place of parents for these guys.
Wow, as you're talking, I'm just like blown away. I kind of knew everything that you said that you do, but hearing it from you it's amazing. It's so special that you do that. I have a son who's married and he's in the army, and I know what it's like. I see it firsthand. He's married, so his wife really takes care of him, but he comes home and we want him to be with us also, and we want to help him as much as we can. And really the soldiers need a lot of support when they're not in training or on base. You mentioned a couple minutes ago that you're now a Hesder Yeshiva. What would be the difference between being a Hesder Yeshiva now versus what you were before? Is there some sort of technical difference in terms of like
Yeah, for
the
sure.
soldiers' experience?
Yeah. So basically, there's many ways to go into the army, and I think it's relevant for everybody. There's many ways to go into the army. You can make aliyah and go to the army because you're obligated to go. You're chayav. You have the obligation as a citizen. You can also volunteer, and that's machal, volunteering from overseas. And you can volunteer to join the army. There are certain criteria of how long you're able to stay in Israel before you do that, and who your parents are. Your parents Israelis, not Israelis? Because a lot of chayalim, a lot of guys who end up going to the army, happens to be that one of their parents or both of them were Israeli citizens, maybe try to make aliyah in the past and move back to the States.
Right.
So basically, becoming a Hesder Yeshiva was something that we were pushing for a religious point of view. We're in a yeshiva, and the question is, what's the best environment for the boy who's coming from America or from Canada or from Australia, South Africa, wherever it is, and he's coming from a religious family, and he's coming from a religious high school, and he's going to yeshiva for an experience of a year and a half, and then he goes into the army. And in the army, you stay for Shabbat, and it's the first time you're going to dorm together with guys who might be not Shomer Shabbat, not Shomer Kashrut, in a whole different secular environment, in a secular world, and it could be one of the shocks that you're going to be dealing with. So we found out that for religious guys, the ultimate place to serve is to be part of a Hesder unit. Hesder is an organization. It exists in Israel for tens of years, for 50, 60 years, and this Hesder units are basically in part of most of the army, infantry and non-infantry, and you have units which are made of people coming from different Hesder yeshivot. It's a yeshiva that guys go to the yeshiva for a year and a half, 2.5, 3.5 years. Then they go to the army for a shorter period of time, which is a year and a half, and then they come back to yeshiva for 2 years. When we became part of the Hesder Union and we became a yeshivat Hesder, we now can send our guys to serve together in an infantry unit in Golani, Givati, and Handasa, and Nachal, and Kfir, and wherever it is. But they're going to be together in a group of 30, 40 guys. They're coming also from religious background, from yeshivat Hesder, other yeshivot is there, whether it's Kiryat Shmona or Ma'alot or the Gush or Kerem B'Yavne or all these Hesder yeshivot around the country, and they're together in the unit with guys who are Shomer Shabbat and Kashrut. So when they stay home, when they stay on base for Shabbat, they have a different atmosphere, a different avira. They have Shabbos songs, and they have commanders that they know their rights and their needs. They know that they daven 3 times a day. They know they need time for davening. They don't have to beg and ask for everything, so they're in a much better environment. Also, one more thing is, at the end of the day, they might end up marrying the sister of one of their friends from the unit, because that's when you make your first connection with the Israeli world. And we want them to breach out of the American yeshiva environment, but also meet guys who are in yeshivot in Israel, Israeli guys who go to yeshivot and then associate, and they're very welcome, and they're very often their friends invite them over to their homes all over the country, and they get to know Israel much better this way. So that's why we chose Hesder. There's the Haredi units, which are either Haredi or not Haredi. It depends, what the real population there. There's regular units which are combined of religious, but also mostly not religious. And for the guys who are coming to our yeshiva or to other gap year yeshivot in Israel, we found that the warmest and the best environment to keep on being on that track of both religious and national and passionate and idealistic, Hesder would be the way to go. We have guys who do not do Hesder. We have guys that were looking for jobs that Hesder cannot offer, or units which are elite units, and then when you go to an elite unit, you're not part of your chevra. You're leaving your chevra to be on part of the elite or the commando. But we have guys in the commando and the elite that live by us, and they come back for Shabbat, and they get the Yiddishkeit and the flavor of religiosity and spirituality and home by us. And in the army, they're kind of more alone. But when you're part of Hesder, you're part of a bigger family, bigger religious family in the army.
Wow, sounds beautiful. What if a female or female soldier would want to come as a lone soldier? Is there some sort of program for a female? I guess not. I don't know what it would be called. Has there something? Is there like a sister program to something like this? Because I'm sure there's a lot of females out there that may be watching or listening to this that they're like, hey, this is great for the guys. They get all this, but what do we get?
So first of all, with my connections, I've helped individual females that contacted me. They want to help with bureaucracy and getting into certain units and to get some help. I do this. Again, I'm not saying that this is our program, but anyone who asks me for help, I'm happy to guide them through. There are programs for girls, not as established as the one that we have for boys. The Lindenbaum in Yerushalayim, it's part of Or Torah. Rav Ohad Te'arlev is amazing. He built there a program that he has for girls. Most of the girls are Israelis there, but there's an American program there as well. And it's also like Hesder, but not Hesder. He basically has connection with few branches in the army that he knows that he can secure spots for the girls to go to these particular tafkidim, roles in the army. And also he has the access and ability to go visit them. He has the connection to also maintain the kesher. However, by us, I have in our yeshiva and in the program every year 3 or 4 new olim chadashim that their parents live in Israel. But the vast majority of the guys are lone soldiers, and there by Lindenbaum, most of the girls that go to the army are actually Israeli. It's an Israeli midrasha. Right. So there's no place like us at the moment for girls. We are about to start a midrasha for girls very soon.
Okay. I didn't know that when I asked the question.
And since the whole discussion of females going to the army, yes or no, should we push for this or not push for this versus Shirut Lomi, which is another option, it's a very controversial topic in the religious world. So we've decided that we're going to start a midrasha, and we're going to be neutral, and we'll work together with the city of Beit Shemesh and Yerushalayim, and establish places for Shirut Leumi for those who would like to go to Shirut Leumi. And I'm sure there are going to be girls who would like to go to the army, and they're going to live together. They're going to live together. We're Bezrat Hashem. We're going to launch it next year. Recruit next year, or this year we're recruiting, and we're going to start the program next year. And if they're going to be guys who are going to do girls who are going to do the army, we will provide them probably with the same services. But as of now, when girls come to me and ask me, give me a program that I can be part of something larger and greater that will take care of me, I normally send them to get an advice from Rav Ohad Tarlev in Lindenbaum. I really admire the great work that he's doing with the girls.
All right, fantastic. I only have boys. I have my third boy just went to start a mechina in Yerushalayim. I have one's in the army, one finished the army already. But I have two nieces that went to Lindenbaum, and I know they're very happy there, and it was very helpful for them. Can you tell me maybe one sort of story, a personal story that you helped a boy or young man making Aliyah? Really just like kind of hone it into a specific story where he came with a challenge, and you or the organization Live L'Chayal was able to help him. Tell us like a real life situation.
Okay, so I'll tell you a story without a name. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges. We worked, by the way, we worked together with every organization that is out there to help lone soldiers. So we work together with Nefesh B'Nefesh in their lone soldier program, and with our Aliyah division. We had a guy that he wanted to go and do Machal and volunteer, but he spent too much time in Israel and he did not know it, so he cannot volunteer, and he had to make Aliyah. When he was making Aliyah, in the process of making Aliyah, one of the things, like going to Machal, you have to bring an FBI background check. The kid did something stupid in high school. He was caught by police with a friend of his doing something stupid, and his background check was not clear.
Wow.
So then we had to push, and with the guidance of Nefesh B'Nefesh, not to push too much, because there is some background there that needs to be cleared. So be very sensitive and working. And he missed the draft, and he could not draft with his friends at the same time with his friends that he wanted to go. And it took few months to get everything cleared through the lawyers and get the resolution from the states and demonstrated to the Misrad HaPnim, to the Minister of Interior Affairs here, and get everything cleared. And then once it was cleared, in a week, get him into the army system, because when a person is making Aliyah, the army does not know about him right away. It takes, you have a year off unless you push him through into the system. So in a week, we pushed him into the system, hurried up, expedite his Aliyah process to happen within a week. They sent him to Ashdod the following day, got his Tudat Zehut right away. Like a day after everything was cleared, it was Siyata Bishma, a lot of work together with Nefesh. And then place him through the process of the army, of Tzav Rishon. So go through the whole evaluation, the physical evaluation, and the IQ test, and that's Tzav Rishon, the process that he has to go through, and make sure that he has all the documents, that they're not going to call him again and again and again and again, and make sure that by that time we worked a lot on the Hebrew to make sure that he passes the Hebrew test, that he won't have to go into Michve Alon, which is an army base for Ulpan, because he really wanted to join the religious guys who are going to Hesder. And then add him together with the guys who are going on the next draft. We had already a group of 5 guys that were going in August as opposed to March, and make sure that he is put together and together with them, that's going to have a group with them. And Baruch Hashem, after this whole thing, he's in. He's in where he wanted to be with his friends. But that was like a very complicated and tons of emails of who to push and where to push and what's right to do and what's wrong to do, and how to delegate his whole Aliyah process, and at the same time enable him to, once everything is clear and ready to go together with his friends, and be part of a team, be part of a group, be part of a family. That's just recent story, that an accomplishment. But there's many of them. There's a guy that made Aliyah and he has allergies, and then to clear him off from the army. Does not like allergies, and there's one doctor there that gives the profile with those with allergies, and he also missed the draft with his friends and then to place him in a unit that he wants to and get him into a basic training which allows people with allergies to be in and with religious guides, and then put him in a job that he will feel secured and safe. So that's part of the challenges of those making Aliyah.
Just unbelievable. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this. I'm just like, this guy's literally doing God's work.
No. The guys are doing their mission. We're here to help them. So
okay, so you're backup. You're the back office for God's work. It's really unbelievable and inspiring, and I think this was very helpful to families making Aliyah, if they have somebody that's going to be a soldier in the army, and for anything. So if somebody needed to contact you or Lev L'Chayal, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
Find us on Facebook. Find us on the web. We have levlachayal.org on our Facebook page. WhatsApp me. I'm super happy to help anyone who's planning on making Aliyah. There's a lot of them that the parents make Aliyah, but the kids are not making Aliyah. There's differences of the age of the kids of the parents make Aliyah. There's lots of nuances to know, and I'm here and I'm happy to help everyone who wants to get this information, and if anyone wants to contact me, I don't know if you want to share my number.
Well, we'll have your contact info at the end of the video. Just one last question. I made Aliyah when I was 32, and I remember I had looked into doing something into the army. Somebody's, upper 20s, 30s, they're not 18 years old and they want to join the army. Maybe that's a question that maybe on somebody's mind. What's the answer? I think I know the answer, but I think I'll let you probably know the answer for sure.
So first of all, I always tell the guys, and there's certain guys that I tell them they should not go to the army. There's a lot of ways to help the Jewish people here in the land of Israel, and it doesn't have to be army.
Right.
It doesn't have to be army. And if you're in an age you cannot go to the army, and they lower the age of obligation of Olim to go to the army. So and every year they change the rules about whether it's 23 or 24 or 22 actually. And but you can always volunteer through Mishmar Ezrachi and Mada and Hatzalah and Ichud Hatzalah, and working in Israel and paying tax in Israel and buying a home in Israel, it's helping the Israeli economy, and that's
100%.
That's what we're doing. So there's many ways to contribute. But I'm sure that if somebody is coming from the medical field, for example, and he's even older than the age of serving in the army is always in need of doctors to come and do a few days of miluim, the reserve, and give your meiser of time, like a day a month, to do miluim as a doctor in the army. They'll be sometimes happy to train you. But this is a better question. The best place to ask this question is actually Nefesh B'Nefesh, when people go through the process of Aliyah and really want to give with their with their qualifications to the army. That's a question that Nefesh B'Nefesh can help more than I do. That's not my.
That's not your field. Okay, amazing. Rabbi Dudi Winkler, thank you so much for joining us. This was really enjoyable and inspiring, and I hope it was helpful to everybody watching. And we'll be in touch. I look forward to speaking to you in person very soon.
Besimcha. Thank you so much, and I hope I can help as many as possible. Thank you for having me.
Bezrat Hashem. Thank you.